The U.S. presidential election is now less than 3 months away, and the race will come into renewed focus this month. I think we've been focused on it for a while, don't you? U.S. President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are both set to officially accept their party's nominations. Plus, Biden is expected to choose his running mate any day now. So who will he choose, and how might that change this presidential campaign? To get their take on what the road to November might look like, I'm joined by Allan Lichtman, professor of political history at American University and the author of several books. He joins us from Bethesda, Maryland. And Jay Shabria, Republican strategist and managing director at Mercury. He joins us from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome to you both. Professor Lichtman, I want to start with you because you have accurately predicted the outcome for U.S. presidential elections since 1984. I'm sure that still sounds great every time someone says it, eh? So, of course, what we want to talk to you is about your prediction. This time, people may know you do not think that Donald Trump is going to win this time around. Tell us why.
Yeah. My system is the 13 keys to the White House, and it has correctly predicted elections for 4 decades. Doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel old, but that's the story. And it predicted Donald Trump's win in 2016, which you can imagine did not make me very popular in 90% plus Democratic Washington, D.C. So here's how it works. The keys essentially gauge the strength and performance of the party holding the White House. They ignore the polls, the pundits, who's up, who's down on a daily basis. And if 6 or more of the 13 gauges go against the party holding the White House, they are a predicted loser. Late in 2019, it looked to me like Donald Trump was going to cruise to victory. He had only 4 keys down against him, 2 keys short of defeat. And then, of course, the multiple crises hit the United States. And Trump made a fundamental mistake. He thought he could run as he did in 2016. But then he was the challenger. Now he is the incumbent, and he has to run on his record. And he made the mistake of thinking he could talk his way out of the crises rather than taking urgent national action to deal with them substantively. And the result is a raging pandemic in the world's richest and most scientifically advanced country. And this has led to 3 more negative keys. We're in a deep recession. The National Bureau of Economic Research declared it. We've had 2 relentlessly negative quarters of economic growth. That's 5 keys down. The very negative economic growth has driven the long-term growth down below the threshold needed to hold that key. That's 6. And, of course, we have social unrest spreading across the land. That's 7. So with 7 negative keys against him, Donald Trump is a predicted loser. And this is a purely impartial prediction. I predicted Donald Trump to win last time. And of 9 predictions, I predicted 4 Republicans and 5 Democrats. That's as close to equality mathematically as you can get.
Now, nobody predicted COVID-19, but I wonder just if your predictions could change, given that you're talking about sort of what has happened with these keys in the last few months. We've still got a few months left. Is this the final prediction?
This is the final prediction on the keys. But 2 things keep me up at night that have nothing to do with the keys and are outside of any prediction system. One is voter suppression. There seems to be a concerted effort on the part of Donald Trump to suppress the vote. Look, his party depends upon people like me, old white men. You can't manufacture more old white men. It's the most shrinking part of the electorate, but you can try to keep down the vote of the rising Democratic base of minority young people. The other thing is Russian intervention, which we know is coming. The intelligence chiefs have told us that, and we know Trump will again welcome it and exploit it, as Special Counsel Mueller found in 2016. Those 2 things really disturb me and keep me awake at night.
I saw Jay shaking his head right before we put him back on camera there. So, Jay, jump in here. What do you want to say?
Yeah, so look, I'll specifically talk about the voter suppression. I think that's a trope that's put out by the left every year, and the right does it on voter fraud here in the States. So I think neither happen. I think the president likes to stir things up, and but I don't.
You don't think he's trying to undermine the potential election results with some of the stuff he's been saying recently about like mail-in ballots?
I think he says a lot of things. I don't think he does.
I think we can all agree he says a lot of things, but I'm talking about the impact.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of impact on that particular thing. Look, but who am I to argue with Professor Lichtman on the rest of it? I think he's right. There's a perfect storm of these terrible things that are happening in the United States. Look, one of the other indicators that I look at too, and which makes it very challenging for the incumbent, is this right track, wrong track poll that Gallup does every month. And in February, the right track, the way people feel about America, was at a 18-year high. Right now, it's at 13%, where they're satisfied with the way things are going. That's a very challenging thing. But I will say this, too. This is another little interesting observation that plays along with this, too. The challenger is nowhere to be found. Joe Biden, no one knows anything about what he says. He doesn't have any impact on this narrative, and because he's not able to, and that's actually playing in his favor in this particular election. It wouldn't in others, but in this particular election, his inability to impact the narrative is helping him out, and that's pretty amazing to watch.
I don't want this to fly by, this interesting discussion, without us talking about Joe Biden's vice presidential pick. A lot of big names. We know he's indicated he's likely to pick a woman. Talk about Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Stacey Abrams, all kinds of names. Do you think that will have an impact, and do you have any thoughts about who he might pick, Jay?
So I have no idea. The Democrats don't run their picks by me, but I don't think it actually will have any kind of legitimate. I don't think it's going to have any real impact on the election itself. I think vice presidents usually don't. But the interesting piece of this is how far left all these names are. Joe Biden is boxed in by his base. He's got to pick someone far left, and that's going to have ramifications for the Democratic Party for years to come. And I think your viewers are going to have to watch how far left, how far he veers to the left, and how far he has to get to his base just to keep them in check.
Professor Lichtman, I want you to pick up on that. What do you think of that analysis? And do you have like a different set of keys for VP picks? Any predictions?
Great minds think alike. I agreed with just about everything Jay had to say till he got to the far left. And that I don't consider a lot of these Democrats who might be vice presidential picks far left. In fact, Kamala Harris, who I think is at the top of the list, is criticized by a lot of progressive Democrats for not being far left up. But leave that aside. Jay's absolutely right. It's not going to change the outcome of the election, never has. But this is a very important pick because, after all, Joe Biden will be 78 years old when he goes into the White House. Heaven forbid nothing happens to him. But, you've got to think this person could step into the presidency, or Joe Biden may well be a one-term president, and this person would be groomed to be the next Democratic candidate. So it's got to be someone that the country has confidence in. And, Joe doesn't listen to me, and it's a very personal thing and very hard to handicap. But I think Kamala Harris would be a very strong pick. And I have kind of an underdog pick that no one else talks about much, and that is Val Demings, the African-American representative from Florida, who has police credentials. She was a police chief and was absolutely outstanding, I thought, as one of the House managers in the Senate impeachment trial.
Interesting, too, given all the different, issues at play right now in the United States and to some extent in Canada, too. I can't let you go, Professor Lichtman, without asking you a Canada question. Donald Trump yesterday took a bit of a swing at us, not just with the fact that he's going to put these new tariffs in place, but he said Canada was taking advantage of us as usual. What should Canadians make of the fact that we are suddenly the bad guys, that we're turning out to be the bad guys in the narrative with Donald Trump?
All I can say to the Canadians is join the club. It's not as if Donald Trump has singled you out. You're there with, his enemy of the month, whether it be Germany or Venezuela or China or France. It really doesn't matter. Donald Trump takes swings at everybody. Look, this is a guy who said that Joe Biden was against God. Joe Biden is probably the most, except for Jimmy Carter, the most religious presidential candidate we've ever had. Donald Trump has never seen hardly the inside of a church, thinks the Bible is just a prop for a photo op. So don't feel bad that Donald Trump takes a swing at you.
Well, hear that, Canada? Don't feel so bad. Listen, gentlemen, thank you both so much for your time today. Really interesting discussion. I appreciate it. Allan Lichtman in Bethesda, Maryland, and Jay Shabria in Columbus, Ohio.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.